active past in hostilities to be lawfully targeted. There's some other requirements as well. The point is that, we're not talking about the whole program is impossible for it to be lawful. There is the capacity in the US. The administration officials have assured us there's a whole range of infrastructure, experts, people involved in this program. So really the US, it's obligation on them to make sure the program abides by international law. I think the other thing that's really key, and again, Jay Carney sort of hit on this as well, is this idea of trying to arrest or incapacitate people wherever possible. Well, the US has to work with its Pakistani counterparts to improve that capacity. It has to ensure that Pakistan does its job in actually trying to bring these perpetrators to justice before a court in a fair trial. We've documented that, the Pakistani authorities have a very poor record of bringing these perpetrators to justice in fair trial. The legal setup in these tribal areas is incredibly poor. Pakistan still applies these anachronistic laws from the British era, which allows it to collectively punish tribes that are considered, pro-Taliban. That has to change. Now, these are big problems, but there are solutions. And we really say again to the US that it needs to make sure its drones are lawful, rather than retrospectively, after doing a strike, saying, firstly, we'll check to see if any civilians are killed, and secondarily, when information comes out, just assuring us, don't worry, it's all legal, everything is fine, you can all go home now.
Malala Yousafzai, the Pakistani schoolgirl shot in the head by Taliban gunmen, recently criticized U.S. drone strikes during a meeting with President Obama. The Obamas, President Obama, First Lady Michelle Obama, and as well their daughter Malia, invited Malala to the White House earlier this month in order to honor her work on behalf of girls' education. But the White House statement did not mention another topic raised at the meeting. In her own statement, Malala wrote, quote, "I also express my concerns that drone attacks are fueling terrorism. Innocent victims are killed in these acts, and they lead to resentment among the Pakistani people. If we refocus efforts on education, it will make a big impact." Your response to that, Mustafa Kadri?
Yeah, look, I largely reiterate what Malala has said. And it's really disappointing that President Obama's official statement did not mention what she said, because that's a really important point. But I can tell you also from the Pakistan side that another key part of trying to promote education is trying to basically prevent the Taliban from targeting girls like Malala, and that is a key part of it. One of the problems of the drone debate up till now is that because it's been so polarized and because the issues are so complicated, there's been a tendency to reduce things down to either drones are good or bad. What we're saying is that, have to look at the local context. The current secrecy and the potential unlawfulness of the US program, firstly, incenses Pakistanis, is used as a political football amongst those, hardliners in Pakistan who want to hide, the abuses by the Taliban and other groups. And what Pakistan really needs to do is to move on. It needs to address the fact that even within Pakistan there's a huge problem with intolerance. There's a huge problem of a lack of quality education for most people. 2% or less than that of the GDP is spent on education. Women's access to education, it's not universally bad, but it's very bad in the northwest where Malala is from, where the Taliban are based. These issues need to be addressed. The fact that the US carries out drones so secretively, yes, it sparks anti-American sentiments, but also it creates all sorts of ideas about, secret plots and this and that. What has to happen is more honesty in discussion about, firstly, what is the problems in that region and the relation between the US and Pakistan. When the US government basically is secretive in the way that the Taliban is secretive or Al-Qaeda is secretive, when its drones are used in a way that causes fear in the hearts of people, the way the Taliban and Al-Qaeda causes fear in people's hearts, that shows you what a big, serious problem we're dealing with.
Well, we want to thank you very much for being with us. Mustafa Kadri, author of the Amnesty International report. We will link to that report called Will I Be Next? U.S. Drone Strikes in Pakistan. Mustafa Kadri is a Pakistan researcher at Amnesty International. On Friday, we'll be joined by Ben Emerson, the UN Special Rapporteur on Counterterrorism and Human Rights. The UN has also put out a report on drones, as has Human Rights Watch. This is Democracy Now! We'll be back in a minute.